Peace and blessings, family. This is your brother asarimhotep with the Martin Delaney Center for Egyptology. Today is Friday, April the 15th, 2022, and today's discussion is the introduction to a series of discourses titled How the Ancient Egyptians Stole African Culture. And yes, I worded it that way, and that's exactly what I mean. And we'll find out exactly what I mean when we return in just a moment. A mic check 1 2 1 2. Thank each and every one of you for joining. It is a pleasure to have each and every one of you here. As you all know, I am back in Philly, ready to start trouble at every turn in which I can. And y'all know that I'm good for that. And so I just love and appreciate the fact that y'all are spending some of your Friday night here with me and for this very important conversation that we're having today. And so, as usual, I like to give love and light to those of you who are viewing live and have made themselves known in the chat. And for those of you who are, new in regards to Twitter, we are streaming as well on Twitter. However, Twitter hasn't developed the app yet to where when you comment there, that it will show up on my end. So I won't see your comments until after the show. And so, but if you are joining from Twitter, welcome. Thank you for joining the conversation. And of course, we're streaming live on YouTube as well as the asarimhotep Facebook page. So want to give a shout out to Metro Customer. Don't even know if that's your real name or if that just automatically shows up because you're using a Metro mobile device. But either way it goes, thank you for coming as well. Love and light to Sister Tamika One is in the building. And as usual, make sure that you big up the video, even if you hate the title, and share the video and get some more folks in here to join this discussion. So thank you, Sister Tamika, for your continued support and for joining in the chain. He says the title, though, stole. Yes, they stole. The ancient Egyptians stole African culture. And we'll get more into that. And so I have been converted, and I am now in agreement with many of the mainstream scholars and random folks out in Egypt today. And so with that being said, I believe that the ancient Egyptians stole African culture and history. And so we'll get more into that. So peace and blessings to Sunjiata, Ata, Kakra, and Zombie in the place to be. Ladama says, what the F are you bumbleclot talking about? You'll figure out why in just a moment. Peace and blessings to Edward, Nigma 9x9, And Tony Macaroni is in the building. Ready, Set, Build Expressions is in the house. Thank you for joining us. Brother Chavez in the building, and part of the Kofi Pasai research team and the like out of H-Town. Much love to H-Town. Donnie Williams said, peace in the Middle East and return of the Mac. You already know. And Ladama says it is Saturday, April 16th here in Kenya. So thank you for joining us from the future. I appreciate that. Hotep to Brother Dejed M. Ankh. And VC, he says, be safe in Philly, brother. A lot of shootings up in your way. Yep. You know, Philly is already just known for a gang of shootings, but something must be in the water because they're going crazy out in Philly. And maybe that can be a show topic. And so peace and blessings to Chris and Manifest Hacking and 42 Tribes is in the building. And Obayaman is in the building. Peace and blessings to you. And he says, Stoll is strong, ready for the proof. All righty. We'll you know, y'all should know me by now. I don't come without receipts. Just know that. Anything that I say and talk about, I have receipts. And I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Shanji Kim, thank you for joining. And Kareem is in the building. He says, make up your mind, goddammit, Asar. Who stole from who? Egypt is the source of all African civilizations. Who told you that? Or did Egypt steal African civilizations? Make up your mind. My mind's already made up. And ancient Egypt stole African culture. Period. It is what it is. And y'all just going to have to deal with that. Right? He says, y'all have been saying for 200 years, now that ancient Kemet is source of all African civilizations, what changed it to the exact opposite? You know, if you believe that ancient Egypt is the origin of African civilization, you need to study more. But I could tell you this, that the ancient Egyptians stole African culture, and that's what we're talking about on tonight. Pablo is in the building. He says, come on, Asar, you're playing games now. I ain't playing nothing. I am dead serious. And, you know, all of y'all who are in y'all feelings, y'all just going to have to be in y'all feelings. It is what it is. Renee Tomko says, I am sorry, but your title doesn't make sense at all. Because you've never been told the truth before. And, you know, just like in the Matrix, you remember when Neo, you know, had the bandages taken off of his eyes once he had been rescued out of the pods. And he says, why does his eyes hurt? You know, his first time seeing light. And Morpheus told him, because you've never used them before. You've never been told the truth about ancient Egypt. And, you know, I have been chosen by God and the ancestors to inform the community on the truth about ancient Egypt. And I take my assignment seriously. And so that's what we'll be dealing with today. It says, come on in, thumb up the video. Indeed, thumb it up. I don't know if I'm saying, Asar needs to debate Brother Ngozi. For what? On what? And here we go. And Lama Bay says, peace, Brother Asar. Thank you for joining. Mr. Trade 890 saying, yo, in the building. And Rawan Fall says, this summer is about to be some, yeah, indeed. He said, stole. It's a play on words. Prove a point. No, they stole. It's no play on words. They stole. You know how you steal? Like when you go to the grocery store and you take something off the shelf and you put it in your pocket and you walk out of the store and you don't pay for it. Stole. That's exactly what the ancient Egyptians did. And Lion's Time Baby said, what's going on here? What's going on here is that I've seen the light. And too many of y'all in this blackology, the black man created everything. And, y'all over here stealing, you know, uh, history from everybody, and the black folks were Chinese, and we were Indians, and we were Native Americans, and we were the first Irish, and all this other kind of stuff. We were the ancient Egyptians. All this stuff just has to stop. And so, and it's going to end today. And so, Tony Macaroni, I think I said his name is already. He's in the building, and he said, having watched all your vids, bro, this is hilarious. This is not a joking matter. I don't know why y'all think this is funny. I know y'all not used to hearing the truth come out of a black person's mouth, but it is what it is. And let me see. It says, the SAR got y'all blood pressures up. Indeed. Peace, everyone. Peace to Sar. Peace to sister. Lakeisha Dunn is in the building. Thank you. Mr. Untouchable is in the building. Big up yourself. Respect. And Shanji Kim says, was it Chancellor Williams that wrote that Egypt is the daughter of Ethiopia? Is that your angle? No. Egypt is Egypt and has nothing to do with Africans, but they stole the Africans' culture because Egyptians are not Africans. And I got to keep reminding people this all of the time, that Egyptians are not Africans, but they stole African cultures. So that's what we'll be dealing with today. So Lion's Time Baby says, I think Jabari is going to be very upset soon. He can be upset. Sister Naja Phillips is in the building and says, what's up, and what's up back to you? He says, well, get into it. I want to debunk you before I go to sleep. That's funny. They the same people, bro. You got the show improved. Yeah, and peace and blessings to you, Jedu Amin Ra. That's what I do. And so again, I know many of y'all are in y'all feelings, and this is a non-emotional show. So what we're going to have to do is to think critically and to not be biased, and to move based on our feelings. And so the ancient Egyptians are not Africans, and they are at the same time guilty of stealing African culture. So let's get that. He says, I am not. Pablo says this cracker is a beast. Maybe. And Banza Kimit says, Lobella Bongo, Ingeta Uhim Mesu Kimit, Hotep, Atuz, I'm from Congo, Chiluba, Swahili, Kikongo, Lingala. Indeed, indeed. And just know that the ancient Egyptians stole your culture out of Congo and surrounding areas. Let me see. It's not Egypt, but Kemet. You can substitute any word that you want. Kemet, Egypt, Tamari, all of them, they stole African culture. And so, let me see. Conan Lee is in the building, all the way across the waters. Teti Ursa Ma'at, Ross, Neferu, and hold on. Does that mean that the people of Egypt, modern and ancient, aren't indigenous to Africa? How come? I don't know. But all I know is that ancient Egypt and Egypt, even to the modern day, they are not Africans. However, they stole African culture. So, Chief is somewhere confused, scratching his head. Maybe. Lion Times Baby says, I figured that Egyptians were not Africans, but I never embarked on an in-depth study. Indeed. Gregory Pat. So if Egypt is the continent of Africa, how are they stealing from Africa? Who told you that Egypt was on the continent of Africa? Show me a map where Egypt is in Africa. Gregory Petit, I dare you to find me a map that shows Egypt in Africa. And first of all, you should know that the real ancient Egypt was over here in the United States, in the Grand Canyon area. So the dynastic race came from Caucasia, and with this animal furs on their backs, they peeped all the culture and got flinched. Indeed. Let me see. Let me see. Indeed, let's go. Yep, there is the Mississippi already. So y'all getting it. You know, Tim Kamer says this guy's talking nonsense. You know, I hate to break it to you, but I'm dead serious. Okay, so what am I talking about here? Why is everybody scratching their head? Why does it seem like Brother Sar has done a complete 180? One, because I've seen the light, you know, and you know, as a scientist, when the evidence is overwhelming in a certain position, you have to take the position of the evidence, and so uh, that's what we have to consider here. And so I'm not coming to you with a biased perspective. I'm just going off of what the evidence says. And so the evidence says that one, that ancient Egypt is not in Africa and they were not Africans. However, they stole African culture. And so many of y'all may recall a conversation. I've shown this video before, right? And the I've shown this video before. Oh, hold on one second. Let me. I got certain things going on there. Let me do that. Alrighty. So let me minimize that for a moment. Let me just do that. Now, remember that on April the 30th and May the 1st, we will be having a conversation. And actually, I need to upload the most recent flyer because there have been added folks. So just give me a second while I do this. I forgot to do this while I was setting up the show. So I do apologize for this time, but there has been an updated flyer. And I want to make sure that I give you all the updated information. And so while I am uploading that, I will go to my asarimhotep page, and there we go. So yes, on April the 30th, that's a Saturday, and then May the 1st, which is a Sunday. It's a 2-day weekend. We will have the Power in Unity Conference that is going to be held in Detroit, Michigan. And it's going to be at the Doubletree Hotel. And there's a number of scholars that is going to be presenting at this conference. So originally, there was going to be 10 scholars, and we're going to be presenting at, in Egypt, way back in February. But there was a controversy stirred up by some nationalists in Egypt that attempted to cancel the event, and so there was to be a tour in alignment in celebration of the Hoppy documentary film. And so, in celebrating the completion and the showing of the Hoppy documentary film and movement, there was going to be a tour to Egypt as well. It was going to end in Nubia, in Aswan, for a 2 day, conference. One Africa returning to the Source conference. But because of an online campaign by anonymous trolls, basically, uh, they they ultimately forced a a cancellation of the conference in Egypt, um, and the rescheduling of the tour. So the tour will be happening in the fall of this year, and but the conference itself is now going to be in Detroit, on April the 30th and May the 1st of 2022. And so the speakers list has been updated. And so, you're going to have Dr. Malana Karenga, uh, Shah, Shahrazad Ali, Professor James Small, Riza Islam, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Kaba Hayawatha Kamani, Dr. Susan Tata, Mfudishi Jehuti Mess, your brother Asar Imhotep, Dr. Theo Falobinga is going to be hosted by Dr. Ken Harris, and he'll also be presenting Professor Bayena Bello, as well as Dr. Alicia Watkins, and brother Jabari Osazi will be there. I think I said his name already. If I didn't, I apologize. So Dr. Alicia Watkins, the wife of Dr. Boyce Watkins, for those who are not familiar with her. And I think that is the complete list, and that should be okay. So that's it. So all of these speakers for these 2 days will be in the building, and we'll be presenting on a variety of different themes, and it's going to be a conference not to miss. So make sure that you go to hoppyfilm.com to get your tickets. So for those of you who will not be in Detroit to watch the live viewing, you can live stream the event, and it's going to be shown around the world. So it's going to be a lot of people in the building, just people who are just showing up, not even speaking at the conference. So it's going to be very, very powerful, and I look forward to coming to the event and presenting on. I think I present on Saturday, so so just keep that in mind. So uh, April the 30th and May the 1st. So because the initial conference had been canceled, it was due in part to a lot of misinformation from these Egyptian nationalists. And these Egyptian nationalists, created a change.org, campaign, was making videos, was going on some of the scholars' social media pages and attacking them, and allegedly making threats, physical harm threats to some of the scholars. And so part of the argument that they were making was that these Africans and African Americans were going around trying to steal ancient Egyptian history and trying to steal their culture and their history, because West Africans and Africans in general don't have any culture or history unto themselves. So they're trying to latch on to ancient Egypt, and ancient Egypt didn't have anything to do with the Africans. And so this is a common thing that you hear all the time. And so this is why, for example, and I'm going to show a video clip from Dr. Hawas, who was the former, chief of antiquities in ancient for ancient Egyptian antiquities in Egypt, and it's another person who is over it now. But for those of us who study Egyptology, we're very familiar with Dr. Hawass and his opinions. But what I'm going to show you, if you have not seen this, is a conversation that he is having with a sister out of Nigeria who came to Egypt to do a news piece on Egypt and the ancient culture or whatnot. It's for some Nigerian news arise, if I'm not mistaken. So the fundamental question she was asking is, were ancient Egyptians black? Right? So she set up a meeting with Dr. Hawass, and this is what he had to say.
East Africans and Nubians, all visibly black populations. But his theories aren't shared by all experts on the matter. We spoke to Dr. Zahi Hawass, an award-winning, world-renowned archaeologist. His life's work has been dedicated to the discovery and research of ancient Egyptian antiquities. Not surprisingly, his office is full of books on the topic, some of which depict dark-skinned ancient Egyptians. But he says there's an explanation.
No, they were dark-skinned,
but they were not black.
But they are not Negro. Because look at the lips of the Negroes like that and the nose like this. It's not really the Egyptian origin at all. It's different, completely different. And this is why you cannot connect the Egyptian civilization with the African at all. It's different. Or from Syria, Palestine, Mesopotamia, it's different completely. Sheikh Anta Diop is from Senegal. And he announced that the origin of the Egyptian were Negro, based on the statues of Ramses II and the statues of Tutankhamun was black. And actually, UNESCO did make a conference to discuss that. And they said there is no evidence, we have to postpone this.
Another group, Diop's research, claims to justify a black identity in ancient Egypt, but the Kushites of Kush Kingdom. Originating in what is today Sudan, the kingdom began in 1070 BC and lasted some 1,400 years. It was after King Kushta invaded Egypt in the 8th century BC, Kushite kings ruled the 25th dynasty of Egypt as pharaohs for a century. But what race were the Egyptians the Kushites met when they got there?
It's true that the black from Kush ruled Egypt in Dynasty 25.
Right.
And this is what the black Americans are proud of.
Yes.
But they mix the 25th dynasty with the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom. They don't know the difference. Then they think that Egypt is a black civilization. It's not true. The black from Kush in the south ruled Egypt. It's a fact.
Yes.
But it's not the Egyptian civilization. It's not a Negro civilization. Another theory that I believe in it, that the Egyptians were Egyptians.
With arguments for and against ancient Egypt.
So I hope you were able to catch what he has said there. And so he's making the argument that the ancient Egyptians were dark-skinned, but they were not Negro. That Egypt had nothing to do with Africa or the Africans. You got to hear his words correct. It had nothing to do with Africa. And again, that they're not Negro, that the Egyptians were not black, but they were Egyptians. And you'll hear this. You always hear this if you listen to the rhetoric from many of these particular sites or conversations. They'll say the Egyptians are not black, they are not white, they are Egyptians. So he reinforced that in the latter part, that the Egyptians were Egyptians. They're not related to nobody. They existed in their own world. and it had nothing to do with Africa. And then he said something to the nature of, he says, because look at their lips of the Negroes and their nose. It's not real. You cannot connect the Egyptian civilization with the African at all. So this is why I'm saying I'm agreeing with Dr. Hawas that the ancient Egyptian civilization were not black, they're not Negroes, and they are Egyptians, they're not black, they're not white, and it had nothing at all to do with African civilization. So I'm playing this one clip because the ideas that you hear from Hawas are the same ideas that you hear for, and I call them the Arabized Russian bots. So the Arabized Russian bots were repeating this same rhetoric, and then trying to say that that the African Americans and the Africans are trying to steal ancient Egyptian history, because again, Egypt has nothing to do with Africa, right? So, and that we're confused because, you know, Zahi Hawass says that the African Americans are confused, that we think that the Kushite dynasty is representative of all the dynasties, and so we're confused. We get those two things confused. That's what he said, right? So let's take them on their thought, right? Let's go there. Let's believe them, right? We're not going to argue with them anymore. So now we get into what I'm going to be dealing with here. So y'all know my position. How the ancient Egyptians stole African culture. So this is just an introduction. I'm not going to be going too in depth today. So what I want to tell you is that I'm going to be doing a series of these discussions proving that the ancient Egyptians stole African culture. And they're only going to be, between 6 minutes to 10 minutes, hopefully no longer than 10-minute clips, right? And so they won't be done in this style that you're seeing me do here. They'll be done in a kind of, almost mini documentary style, so that they're digestible, they're small enough that you can, for those of you with short attention spans, you will get it. And, when you view the series in depth, and so, it'll be about, anywhere from probably 15 to 20 of these done throughout the coming year, right? So I'm just introducing the framework, the conversation, and the justification for my argument on how the ancient Egyptians stole African culture. And so I'm just going to share my screen real quick. And so remember the argument that was being made by Hawas and the Arabized Russian bots, right? They said that the Egyptians are not black, they're not white, but Egyptian. Now, first of all, this doesn't make any goddamn sense, since black is a color, white is a color. I've never heard of the color Egyptian. If y'all find Egyptian in the crayon box, please send me a copy of the Egyptian color crayon, or the RBG color code, or the hexadecimal value, for any of you who are in the Photoshop and know about these graphics or whatnot. So Egyptians are not black, they're not white, but they're Egyptian. So they made up their own color. Egyptian has its own color, and that's I'm looking for that color. So when I start, my artwork, I can use the Egyptian color. But that's what they said. They're not black, not white, but Egyptian. And that Egypt is not in Africa. And Egypt has nothing to do with Africans. So we're going to take these three premises here, and we're going to agree with them. I don't want any of you ever to argue against these three concepts here, right? When the Arabized Russian bots come at you and they say the Egyptians were not black, the Egyptians were not white, but Egyptian. So they're their own color. Egypt is not in Africa, and Egypt has nothing to do with Africans. I don't want y'all to argue with them. Agree with them. Tell them they are right. And I'm telling you right now that I see the light. I agree with the Arabized Russian bots. I believe you. No, the ancient Egyptians weren't Africans, and they had nothing to do with Africa. So y'all see this here? I want y'all to ignore this map. I don't know who made this map in the first place, because I don't know who put Egypt there in Africa. Egypt is its own country, and it floats on top of the earth. So it's not connected. It's not in the Middle East. It's not on the continent of Africa. Ancient Egypt floats above the earth, and it has its own orbit, right? So it has nothing to do with Africa. So we're taking Egypt off the continent. We're going to find out who made this map, this pseudo ass map, and put Egypt on the continent of Africa, right? So we're going to hunt them down, and we're going to have a few words with whoever created this map and put Egypt in Africa, because Egypt is not in Africa, so it can't be African. They can't be African because it's in Africa. So they're not African, and they have nothing to do with the Africans. So this means that Egypt is not in Africa, and this map is false, and that Egypt floats on top of on over the earth as its own. It's our second moon. So think of Egypt as a second moon. It exists unto itself. The Egyptian is a new color in the crayon box. It has its own hexadecimal value. And we're going to start using the Egyptian color when we start creating our own artwork, right? So, so here we go. So we're going to agree to the premises given by the Arabized Russian bots. I said this already. Again, that the Egyptians aren't black, they are not white, but they are Egyptians. Ancient Egyptians had nothing to do with Africa, right? So that's what the great, peer-reviewed Dr. Zahi Hawas, who is an Egyptian, and what he says is law, is the authority, and you Negroes don't have any right or authority to argue with him, right? So this is the premises that they are arguing, and we're going to agree. I agree. At least I agree. I don't know about y'all in the chat, right? This is their argument. So now, if the ancient Egyptians had nothing to do with Africa and the Africans, according to the Arabized Russian bots and their cronies and the Negropeans who agree with them. So we have the Arabized Russian bots and the Negropeans who don't know jack about history or anything to that nature, who agrees with them because of their own cognitive dissonance. So we're including the Negropeans, the Negro Russian bots. So there's the Arabized Russian bots and the Negropean Russian bots. They're all joined and they're sleeping with each other, and producing unintelligent children. And so however, if we find Egyptian themes in Africa that cannot be attributed to chance or borrowing, then the only conclusion is that the Egyptians stole the culture of the Africans and did not give them credit. And so that's what I'm arguing, that the ancient Egyptians saw Black people in Africa, because remember, the ancient Egypt floats over the earth. It's not in Africa, and it has nothing to do with Africans, but because it floats over the earth, and the earth's gravitational pull, puts it in a certain orbit, and it rotates around the earth so many times per day that it experiences 2 days and 2 nights within a 24-hour period because of how fast it hovers and circulates around the earth in its axis, right? So because they are at that height and level, they can see down from space how African people are doing. And so when they look from space and they see the Africans, they're like, we want to do that. We're going to steal and appropriate their culture and then claim it as ours, right? So we're going to deal with this. So hopefully y'all better understand where I'm coming from and why the title of this series on how the ancient Egyptians stole African culture. Because remember, they're not Black, they're not white, but they're Egyptians. And the ancient Egyptians had nothing to do with Africa or Africans. They don't claim Africa. They don't claim anything to do with Africans. So remember that Egypt floats over it. Yes, Egypt is a spaceship that hovers over the earth, and they're able to look down with their highly advanced technology. And because they also have third eye and chakras, they're able to feel and hear all the way down on Africa, and they're taking the culture and things from the Africans, from their spaceship, and they beamed up a few Africans and learned some things and then put them back down and in their spot. So this is what the ancient Egyptians did. Do not argue with the Arabized Russian bots or the Negropean Russian bots. Agree with everything that they say, right? So when you, and I'm just going to give a few things right now, right? So you can see here, like, the ancient Egyptians were so unadvanced that they even stole basic stuff like how to play or to dance or to perform. They stole our vocabulary. So if the ancient Egyptians had nothing to do with Africa, how did they get our word for a dancer and how to dance? Because if the ancient Egyptians weren't Black, we know for a fact that they could not dance, right? So we know for a fact that they stole this from the Africans. They stole the ability and even stole the word for to dance and to play and to perform, right? And so when I say Chicam, that means Egyptian, and Chiluba is a Central African Bantu language. So these are so far apart that you cannot say that this is coincidence in terms of these words here. So they didn't even have a basic word for strong or strength. The ancient Egyptians stole our vocabulary because the ancient Egyptians were so advanced that they did not know how to speak. You know, because when you're communicating with your third eye and you're floating from your chakra energy and you're floating with your country as a spaceship in space over Africa, you know, you lose the ability to communicate. So you have to steal African words so that you can seem normal amongst the humanoids and the Homo sapiens, those primitive people on the continent of Africa. So you got to steal words for like strong and strength, or the side or edge, or even little stuff like a basket, how to make a basket in basketry. Basic stuff like this is what part of the stuff that they stole. And so even, you know, when you are a highly advanced super spaceship designing species with your own color like Egyptian, you know, like there's blue, red, purple, black, white, violet, Egyptian, you know, tan. Egyptian is its own color. You're so advanced that you even got your own color. You know, you don't fight. You don't know how to fight because, you know, you're so advanced that you communicate with your third eye and you float using your chakra energy that you don't know how to fight. So you had to go amongst the Africans and steal their word for warrior, because y'all don't know how to fight. Y'all don't have warriors. So you had to steal the African words for warrior and simple stuff like how to separate or the edge or the sharpening, how to sharp, because y'all were so advanced that, you know, y'all didn't know how to make weapons and to sharpen and do things like that, because y'all just with your third eye, you know, and chakra energy, you just thought how the stones and everything should just break apart in perfect alignment and build themselves into pyramids. Like y'all was on some X-Men, Xavier mind telepathic and Magneto making the objects float into place, and then they just broke apart. So y'all didn't know anything about tools and sharpening, but because y'all wanted to blend in as much as possible with the humanoids, that y'all stole the words, the African words for to separate and edge and point and sharpen and stuff like that. Even the word to suffer and distress, because, you know, the ancient Egyptians were perfect. So they didn't suffer at all in those desert streets back in the day. So you had to borrow words from Africa for suffering, you know, and even palatalize the initial velar in the word, you know, because y'all don't know how to speak correctly these primitive African words and languages that you know, y'all started mispronouncing stuff. So, you know, and because all the ancient Egyptians were perfect, they didn't give birth like regular human beings. It was immaculate conceptions. No one really had a mother or a father. They just thought their children into being, and they emerged. So, they couldn't, when they came off their Egyptian spaceship down to Earth to do trade and stuff like that, they, of course not in Africa, because they didn't, they claimed that they had no relationship with Africa. So this is all in the Middle East and Europe. So when they came down to do trade with Europe and the Middle East and Western Asia, they had to try to blend in, and so they had to steal our words to give birth or to raise up a child, because they didn't raise children. They just thought their children into being, and then they just kind of grew randomly, every 5 years. So that's what the ancient Egyptians were doing, because they were so advanced, and they were, they didn't know how to deal with us, primitive Africans on the continent. But as we can see here, they because in their mind they're not stealing, because the Africans are so primitive and backwards that they're doing us a favor by taking our words and pronouncing it for us, because our primitive, like the melanin in our skin, made it impossible for us to say the words correctly and with impact and with power. So the Egyptian colored people, the Egyptian colored Egyptians, from their spaceship, when they beamed us up and was studying our language and our culture and threw us back down into the primitive jungles of Africa, they made our words better. So that's why they had to steal our words for speech, our prepositions, our words for truth and truly, and stuff like that. This is what they had to do, and so we got to keep that in mind, because the ancient Egyptians was just so far advanced, and they had to steal, like, our words for kingship and kings and chiefs and all of that. So, you see this primitive, backwards African from the Baluba people. He is a kum, a chikomo, or an mfumu, a chief, a king, someone of social weight. And you can see that the ancient Egyptians stole basic words for how to crush, to press, or to tread, or to be surprised, or to do a report. It's interesting that the ancient Egyptians were so advanced that they had to steal African concepts like speech and how to nurse children and how to dance, because we know for a fact that non-African Black people just can't dance. And this is, we know they stole that word. That was probably the first thing that they stole, right? So, as we can see here, the following images, I'm going to show two images. So the first image is a recreation of the tomb of Amenhotep Hui, that's Theban tomb 40. And the following image is the actual image, the primary source. Notice how light the Egyptians are portrayed in the recreation. The first image is from the book Egypt in its African Context by Andrea Manzo, right? So here we go. So this scene from the tomb, you see these primitive African Nubians, of various different colors. You know, they try to make it seem like all the Nubians are always depicted in this super dark color here, but they're not. They're always shown in various different shades. And so these are various different groups out of the Sudan. And but you notice how light the ancient Egyptians are. You know, I guess this is that Egyptian color. So this is the Egyptian color that we're going to find in the crayon box. It's called Egyptian, right? But let's look at so remember that this is from a book. I copied this straight from the book. There's a physical version and there's an ebook version. So this is the original version for which the print version emerged. So this is a recreation. So if you ever see this image, for example, this is a recreation. Now let's look at the actual tomb. This is a photograph that you find in the British Museum website. So notice how dark this image is. And we can see the reddish brown and the super dark black and these various colors. So they're close and to the colors that you see here of these Africans. So this is very telling, because what this tells us is that the ancient Egyptians even stole African colors. So they were trying so hard to imitate the Africans that they even stole the Africans' phenotype and colors in the original artwork. This is the artwork of the Arabized Russian bots in academia. For folks trying to make them look like the mixed population that you find there today of Greeks and Romans and Turkish and Arab and Jewish folks who live in there, and Syrians who settled and intermingled for the past 2,500 years in this area. So that's that new Egyptian color. But the original space age Egyptian floaters, they stole the colors of the African folks on the continent. So they're just stealing all around. Stole the colors, stole their vocabulary and language, because the real ancient Egyptians are so far advanced over all you humanoids and you primitive Africans that they don't even use speech. They just transfer digital signals from one third eye to the next. And they don't even touch the ground, because the chakra energy allows them to float over everyone. And Egypt itself is not even it's not even on Earth. It's just its own, spaceship satellite that just circles the Earth and refuels off of the gravitational power and the electromagnetic sphere in energy and quantum field mechanics of the electrons that come and the antiparticles that come in and out of existence, that fuels the spaceship that hovers over the world. Because the ancient Egyptians were just that far advanced over the primitive Black Africans, right? So it's interesting that a lot of them will show images like this, but you'll never see a relief, a portrait with 10 or more people in it that look like this. So remember, these are the real Egyptians. This is the real Egyptians' color. So because they wanted to blend, this is the spaceship third eye advanced Egyptians, right? So when they came down to Earth and jumped off of their spaceship, they had to blend in somehow. So they stole, you know how like on the Transformers, when the Transformers came from Cybertron, they were this just metallic looking thing, but then they shot a beam that scanned the motor vehicles and they became the motor vehicles. That's what the ancient Egyptians are. They are really the Transformers who saw the Africans and used their third eye beam to scan the Africans, and they just became the Africans. So that's how they stole everything. This is what this is the stuff that you have to keep in mind here. This is how they stole African history. The original ancient Egyptians originate from Cybertron, and they came down to Earth and they scanned using their third eye all of the Black Africans on the continent from their spaceship on down to Earth. And then they just transformed into Nubians and Libyans, and they was on the temple walls, pop locking, and this is why you see the poses like this, because they learned kung fu, and this is their poses and things of this nature. This is what actually happened, and I'm the only one to have cracked this code, because y'all are not in tune with your third eye, so you can't even see the Transformers in this day and age. So the original Egyptians are Transformers from Cybertron who came down with their super advanced technology. This is why they were able to build the pyramids and leave no trace whatsoever of their existence, and then just leave. And so they scanned the universe or the continent, and this is the colors that they showed themselves. But this is the original Egyptian color of them on Cybertron, right? But for some reason, every time they depicted themselves in the actual artwork, they look like this, with this reddish brown Black African colors and these afros, because again, they scan with their third eye. That's exactly what they do. They scan with the third eye, and then they transform themselves into Africans from the Sudan. And they just, boom. So this is what they really look like on Cybertron. But when they scan like the Transformers, this is what they look like. This is what they look like. They are aliens hidden among us. So this is what we have to keep in mind here. So back to my series that we're going to have in the next couple of months. So for those of you who are on my social media, right? I asked y'all a few weeks ago to give me the most common themes and ideas and characteristics that when you think of ancient Egypt, you think of this, right? And the underlying context was that if we were to take these things away from ancient Egypt, Egypt would no longer be Egypt. It would lose all of its identifying characteristics. So, you know, from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook to Twitter, and just conversations with a few of my partners, I've kind of summed it up into these main themes. So when you think about ancient Egypt, you think about Ma'at, you think about pyramids, you think about the different deities, you think about ritual, spirituality, of course, the overall culture, the hieroglyphs, hairstyles, language, motifs, the Pertin Heru, that came up a lot in terms of the Book of the Dead, the concept of mummies and kingship. And so these, I'm going to deal with each one of these, and I'm going to show and prove how these spaceship Egyptians, these transformers from Cybertron, stole each and every one of these concepts. And so those are going to be done in these 6 to 10 minute videos that will be kind of done in documentary form style. So I hope I've given you kind of an introduction to show y'all what I mean when I say that the ancient Egyptians stole African culture, because they're not Africans according to them. They had nothing to do with Africans. But somehow we keep finding these African concepts in ancient Egypt. So if y'all didn't interact with us and we weren't there in ancient Egypt, then the only explanation that I can think of is either it's a great coincidence or y'all stole African culture. So I'm going to show you that they in fact stole African culture and didn't give the Africans credit, and now are trying to be racist trolls, arguing that they just came up with all these concepts on their own, that it was divine intervention and interaction, that they was able to shrink themselves into the quantum world and to take all of the quantum knowledge and build and create all of these different ideas and motifs. And it has nothing to do with Africa and Africans. So that's their argument. And I can show you screenshots of them making this argument. I just showed you one from Dr. Hawas. This is their argument. So let's take them on their argument. Let's force them to prove that they created all this stuff on their own without any interactions with Africans themselves, that they didn't steal these ideas from Africans, from their floating Egyptian country spaceship that hovers over the earth, because Egypt ain't in Africa. I don't know where they got that idea from. I don't know where people got that notion from, that Egypt is in Africa, that which would make them Africans. But that's what they said. Egypt ain't in Africa, and they're not Africans, and they have nothing to do with Africa and those black folks and those Negroids with the wide noses and big lips and all this other kind of stuff. That's what they said. So I believe you. I'm not arguing anymore. I have seen the light. I have been bathed in the glory of the truth of the Arabized Russian bots. And so, thank you, Arabized Russian bots, and you Negropeans for supporting the Arabized Russian bots and for helping me to see the light. And because I just want to thank y'all, because of y'all arguments, I was able to tap into my third eye and see the original Cybertronian Egyptians who came down to Earth and created this vast and massive civilization that has influenced the world into this present day. So I thank each and every one of you, Negropeans and Arabized Russian bots, for helping me to see the truth. And so just be on the lookout for these videos when they arrive. And so with that, I say Inqua Ngolo Vimpi, peace and blessings. Thank you all for joining me in this conversation. And I hope to see y'all on the other side of these series of presentations, which will help to verify and verify the ancient Egyptians as the Cybertronian space age, chakra floating, third eye communicating, quantum physics theory developing people, and for vilifying the primitive Black African folks who ain't got no history, no culture, no language, and just trying to latch on to the Cybertronian space age, ancient Egyptians that got their own color in the coloring book or in the coloring pack, the crayon and marker pack. See, that's how advanced. See, Black, y'all don't even have your own color. There's no African color. There's no Nigerian color. There's no Yoruba color. There's no Akan color. There's no Wolof color. There's no Zulu Baluba color. Y'all not even on their level to have your own color. See, that's what we're going to be dealing with. And so before y'all go, shooting a documentary film and would love y'all support. So for more about this film,
you see, I have a lot of things that's on my mind, and I would like to let them out. Look, I see reality breaking down all my fantasies. It would be nice if I at least had one fantasy. That neutrality about to take a terabyte from the American apple pie, better get a slice. It's kinda scary the way that this life is moving on. Marvin's doing backflips inside his grave, what's going on? We have head-on collisions, not seeing another's vision. Maybe that's the reason why some colors fit the description. Lot of relationships need life rafts, sinking ships. I guess you just can't have only one like potato chips. I would love for you to listen with an open heart, but would you really even hear me if it's torn apart? I don't do the things that I used to. I'll be fine even if I lose you. Okay, yeah. Okay.
make sure y'all visit ShinaIntoFilm.com if you want to support the upcoming documentary film on the relationship between ancient Egypt and modern Bantu cultures, philosophy, and language and like. And make sure that y'all visit hoppyfilm.com to get your tickets for the One Africa Power and Unity Conference, which will be live streamed as well as an in-person conference. It's going to be 2 days on April 30th, 2022, as well as May the 1st on that Sunday. So make sure that y'all visit that link and support the movement. And make sure y'all go to maduandelapress.com so that you can pick up the latest text from me, which is Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory and etymological study. It's part of the new field of into Kam, Nile River studies. And so this is the first text in the field. And, it is receiving rave reviews from those who have in academia and those in the community who have read it and understand it. You can purchase that at maduandelapress.com, as well as the latest text from Dr. Chinemalema Mukinge out of the Democratic Republic of Congo of the Baluba people. He has a text that we publish under Madu Andela Press, Muntu wa Nzambi, Portrait of Human as God's Special Creation. And so make sure that you also visit the Spreadshirt link, which is in the description. Let me get that link off there. So you can support by, purchasing one of the t-shirts, and this is Kimoyo, and the Buying Kole t-shirt, the proposed name for African Americans. And, there's all different kinds of designs. I just have a few over here in terms of the pictures. And so, you can get this Mathematics shirt here, the F of X, and those who get it will get it. And just to note that at the end of August, I will be publishing my latest text titled Race and Identity in Ancient Egypt, Volume 1, Towards a Meaning for the Place Name Kemet. So this will be, the first edition of my thorough analysis and argument on the meaning of Kemet. It will be a 3-volume series. The second volume will be an edited series. So it'll be different contributions from different scholars in that text, as well as volume 3, which would be the primary source material with the hieroglyphs and the Greek script and transliterations and translations of very important texts which discuss the quote unquote race and identity of the ancient Egyptians. And so, and yes, in the text, I prove that the ancient Egyptians were from Cybertron and are Transformers. And so I'm just letting you know now, and you can even see on the cover here, again, they came to Earth scanning the Africans and stole their color. And so we see this, and this photo is a photo. This isn't a recreation that you see on the book cover. This is a photo from the tomb. So there's no darkening, there's no lightening. This color, it is what it is. And so we'll be discussing that, I will be releasing that in August. So I'll just look at the comments. I haven't had a chance to really kind of look at the comments and see what is going on here. I'll have to probably really do that later, as I'm seeing there's a lot of comments. So I thank each and every one of you for, yes, and this is the link, for the t-shirts, the Spreadshirt link. Thank you, Sister Tamika. And, any support helps. And, we, are thoroughly engaged in this war on African history and the Africans for taking or having the audacity to write about and discuss accurate history. And so, as y'all can see, I want all the smoke and I am ready. And so it's nice. I got to get that new one when it comes out. Indeed, I appreciate your support. Contrarian Thinker says, we know the Egyptians came from the north of the Mediterranean, asked the scholar Chief X. No, Chief X is wrong and you are wrong. They come from Cybertron. And in outer space, we don't know what is north or south. Those are all relative directions. And so, you have to use your third eye to even understand the nature of this conversation. And so just want to say that. And New Gamer says, we are not African people and we are not Black. We are Egyptian people. Go cry all the time. All the world know the truth. I agree with you. You're not Black. You're not. See, y'all think I be making up these arguments. This is what they come on and leave on my page. all the time that, we are not African people and we are not black. We are Egyptian. It's his own thing. We are Egyptian people. Go cry all the time, all around the world. Know the truth. We know the truth now that you guys are from Cybertron and that you are not human beings. You are robots. That's why you are Arabized Russian bots. And you have come to Earth to try to steal our minerals to rebuild Cybertron. And so we've caught on to your little scheme here. And so, we will not give up Earth without a fight. And so that's what I'm telling all of you Egyptians. We will not give up Earth and our minerals without a fight. We're not scared of you Cybertronians from outer space coming and then using your third eye to scan and try to blend in with the primitive humans. You'll be surprised of our willingness to band together as brothers on Earth to fight these alien forces who come to steal our minerals and rebuild Cybertron. And so we know that all of you are Decepticons coming to deceive the world with your supernatural powers and high technology, but y'all don't have human will. Y'all don't have that gift of gab that we do. And so your plans will not prevail. I'm just letting you know this right now. Already. So I do appreciate each and every one of you for joining the conversation. And so we'll be back soon with our regularly scheduled programs. So until then, peace, love, and unity, and y'all have a blessed weekend. With that, I am out.